He attended University of North Florida, where they studied to become a train conductor, and then they were later promoted to locomotive engineers. They both bought their own homes before eventually becoming married. Now I would like to read one of my son's life story in his own words. Hi, my name is Robbie Fuller. I am an addict. I am 39 years old and currently in the Bryan County Jail. I want to start off by saying drugs don't discriminate. I was raised in a wonderful, loving family environment. I have an identical twin brother that also suffers from addiction and an older sister who does not. We had a great childhood, went on vacations, and played sports into high school. We also were very involved in church while growing up. To this day, I still have never committed a violent crime, such as a robbery, shooting anyone, or stealing in order to get drugs. My first experience with drugs came at the age of 15, when I tried marijuana. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but continued because it was the cool thing to do. Later, I was introduced by friends to ecstasy. It gave me a feeling like no other. I could do anything and be happy. It was great. I continued using on weekends only. I was a functioning addict, or so I thought. In 1998, I was blessed with a beautiful baby boy. He spent a lot of time with my parents. I would come by to see him and spend some time with him, but not as much as I wished I had. I was later blessed with a job at CSX Railroad, and after attending the University of North Florida, I started as a conductor and was eventually promoted to locomotive engineer, like my father and my brother. I worked there for 12 years. Life was great. I was making a great living, partying, going on vacations, and bought several nice cars and trucks. At the age of 26, I got married and settled down, stopping all drug use. I wanted to become healthier, so I started working out with weights, and it turned into one of my favorite hobbies, which led to my first injury, needing a shoulder surgery. Along with my surgery came pain pills, lots of them. Later, I needed a second shoulder surgery, and more pain pills were prescribed. In 2010, I suffered a career-ending severe arm injury. I had a total of 3 surgeries on that arm, and was prescribed a new drug called Dilaudid. Wow, this stuff made me feel amazing. I felt like I was on top of the world. From the age of 26 till 31, I had 3 shoulder surgeries, 3 surgeries on my right arm, 2 intestinal surgeries, and numerous other hospital stays. I eventually learned that I could get a better high by crushing the pills, adding saline, and using a needle to shoot up the Dilaudid, because they didn't work as quickly in pill form. I was being prescribed 150 8-milligram Dilaudid, along with 150 10-milligram methadone pills, and this would only last me 2.5 weeks. I would be sick for a week or longer unless I could get some from my friends. My wife wasn't aware of all of this in the beginning, but it didn't take long for her to catch on, because she was a registered nurse. She was not okay with her husband sticking a needle in his arm just to get out of bed or anything we had to leave the house for. I couldn't go to the store for groceries without getting high first, because I was scared of not knowing how long we would be gone. My wife didn't put up with this for very long and filed for divorce after 5 years of marriage. This is when I really started going downhill. My life started unraveling right before my eyes, and there seemed to be nothing I could do about it. I was all alone sitting in my house on disability from work, wishing I could bring her back, but I couldn't. She was done. I had put her through pure hell. I cashed in 2 401k plans to help with paying bills, but ended up using all the money on drugs. I met a young woman that showed me something I could use when I ran out of my prescribed drugs that was cheaper than the pills that I was buying on the street. Heroin became my new drug of choice because prescribed pain medications were not enough and I couldn't get what I needed as easily as heroin. I was getting high and not paying the bills. I started having to prepay for electricity. I was no longer paying the house payment, truck payments, or anything else. All that mattered was doing drugs. The repo man came to get my trucks, my boat, and I was seeing everything going down the drain. My house was being foreclosed on, but that didn't stop me from continuing to use heroin. I was taking Adderall as well, and pain pills, but the withdrawals were really bad. I had a friend tell me that he could show me something that could take away the withdrawal symptoms of pain medication. He came to my house to show me how to make meth. Wow, I was hooked. Not long after, the police raided my house, and my twin brother and I were arrested and charged with manufacturing methamphetamine. From that point after I was released on bond, I continued to use drugs for the next 5 years. During that 5-year span, I continued to get more and more into a life of drugs, the horrible life, and the people that it offered. I overdosed and died many times, only being brought back to life with Narcan. I lived from one house to another, never having a permanent place to lay my head. My brother was doing the same thing, and I had to look after him to try to keep him alive as well. I always had to bum a ride to go anywhere, but mainly to look for more drugs. I had lost all material things, my wife, my family, and my dignity. I had lost weight so badly that I was ashamed of the way I looked and only went out at night, always wearing a cap and pulling it down low to cover my face in case I saw someone I knew. My family tried to help me, but I didn't listen. My son was in his teens when he started performing as a country music singer. He was doing well, playing and singing country music in different venues. I told him I would come to see him, but very seldom did because the drugs were keeping me from making the event. My life was in total shambles. There were many times that I wished I could just die when I would overdose, but for some reason, I was brought back. On August the 19th of 2017, I was rushed to the hospital after overdosing again on heroin and had to be shot with Narcan twice to bring me back. 1 week later, I was caught with drugs again. Arrested and sent to the Bryan County Jail, where I currently am waiting trial. Sorry, y'all. I have now lived half of my life and have missed a lot of things with my family, and I don't have a good relationship with my son. I can only blame it on my drug addiction and the shame that comes with it. Everybody has their own opinion about drug addiction, but until you've been there, your opinion means nothing. Yes, we chose to do a drug, thinking that we would be the one that could control it. You don't control a drug, it controls you. There are some truly blessed ones that have beat it, that don't think that because they're alive, that life is gravy. They fight daily to stay clean and sober. It's a constant battle, and without a higher power like God and a rehab program, it's impossible to beat it. Most people like myself are good people that made a bad choice. Battling a drug addiction is a beast for the person addicted and the ones who love them. There are currently no programs in the Bryan County Jail, no literature or books for inmates to read on how to beat addiction. This really needs to change. I hope something can be put into place to help people like me overcome this powerful demon, because the answer is not incarceration, but working with addicts to give them hope for a better life, drug-free. Now I would like to tell you how I feel from a mom's perspective, what it's like to have two sons that are addicts. One of the hardest things that I deal with as a mom of an addict, or in my case, two addict sons when they're in the streets, is not knowing where they are, if they are hungry, whose drug house are they sleeping in tonight, who are they hanging around with, if they have overdosed or are they still alive. One night while looking at Facebook, I saw a post from my son Rusty. He was sitting on a city bus bench on the side of the road, and he said that he just wished that God would have a car run off the road and hit this bench and kill him, because he was tired of the life that he was living. It was heart-wrenching for me to see that, knowing that he felt that way and was all alone. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and soon he left to go live in a halfway house in Gainesville, Georgia. After a couple weeks of being there, he got a phone call from a friend in Wisconsin saying that he wanted Rusty to come up there and work, and it paid well. This friend said that he would buy his ticket on a Greyhound bus to get there and help him pay for lodging until he could pay him back. Rusty thought that this would be a great opportunity, but knew he needed to get to Atlanta to catch the bus. He called his sister that he hadn't talked to in several years to see if she would come to Gainesville to get him and take him to the bus station the next morning. Our daughter Joy was receptive to helping her brother, so she drove to Gainesville that night to pick him up. Rusty made the 40-hour trip to Wisconsin, and it turned out to be the best thing he could ever have done. Joy's heart was softened that night, and before going to bed, she wrote on Facebook, "As I go to bed tonight, I'd like to ask all my friends to say an extra prayer for my handsome, identical twin brothers. Many of you know their backstory, and many of you don't. Just know they've been on the road of recovery for a long time. I say road to recovery because I know deep down they've always wanted to recover. Full recovery is a difficult journey. I will never pretend to understand it because honestly, I can't imagine the daily struggle an addict must face. Pray for him that he will stay strong and not lose hope, that our family will be back together one day, and he will be free from the evil that took over his life." In closing, just know that I am here today to tell my family's story, but remind everyone that this could be anyone in our neighborhood. Addiction does not discriminate. Also, know that addicts are people, and they have mothers and fathers and sisters and family that care about them. They are not bad, horrible criminals. They need a community to support them in order to start getting better. It starts with all of us.